What do we mean by the word drug? A drug is any substance other than food that, upon entering the body, changes the body or how it's functioning. Here are some familiar examples of drugs: caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, marijuana, opioids, benzodiazepines, ecstasy, LSD, and also don't forget the pharmaceuticals, including those you can buy over the counter. Many drugs have psychological effects. When they do, they are called psychoactive drugs. When you think about the drugs that would be non-psychoactive drugs, you're probably talking about medications such as aspirin, statins, metformin, and many others. Non-psychoactive drugs would be affecting how the body is functioning without having an effect on state of mind. You probably have heard the distinction between applied research and basic research. Applied research specifically focuses on solving a real-world problem. So with the topic of drugs, solving a real-world problem with a drug typically involves treating a patient for an illness or treating an individual for having a drug abuse problem. In applied research, because the focus is on solving the problem, sometimes it's okay if we don't know why a particular drug might solve a problem. So for example, acetaminophen, also known by the brand name Tylenol, is something that's offered for pain relief. But in fact, really it's uncertain how this drug is bringing about that effect. How does it work? In applied research, we just don't care as much. We just want to know, does it relieve your pain? In contrast, in basic research, we really want to know, how does that work? So in the approval process for new drugs, there are tests to determine that the drug is relatively safe for people to take and it produces the outcome that is desired. So even though we don't know how acetaminophen reduces pain, tests have been done to show that it causes no adverse side effects. And it does deliver what it promises to do: reduce your headache. Basic research is carried out typically by research scientists whose primary goal is to understand the inherent mechanisms that are involved in what they're looking at. If it's with health research, it's how does the human body work? How does that drug affect the human body? In basic research, we want to understand the phenomenon down to its nuts and bolts. Imagine a car. You'd want to be able to take it apart and know exactly what each piece did and be able to put it back together. Our understanding of the human brain and the human body is still lacking. We are nowhere near understanding the human body and brain the way we understand your basic combustion engine. The story of lithium as a mood stabilizer in the treatment of depression and bipolar disorder is a story that shows you the tenets of applied research. We don't know how lithium works, and yet it's still today a top-of-the-line treatment for mood disorders. The discovery of lithium as effective for mood problems stemmed from the use of therapeutic natural springs, which has been a practice throughout the ages. People would go to natural springs to take a dip, to bathe, and they would find relief after having been in the water. These natural springs contain many minerals, including lithium, and it was the individual's exposure to these minerals, particularly lithium, that likely brought about their change in mood after bathing. You may have heard that developing new pharmaceuticals is very expensive. One reason is that there's a very high failure rate. More than 98% of new drugs fail to be effective in human testing. Prior to testing in humans, the drugs are tried out in petri dishes, on cells. They may also be tried out with animal experiments, where animals are injected directly with the drug. But in human testing, when a person has to take the drug in the form of a pill, they find it doesn't work. Usually, the reason is that the drug does not pass the blood-brain barrier. Small molecules can get through the barrier, but large molecules and those that are electrically charged cannot. A link has been posted on Canvas that gives you a good overview of how the blood-brain barrier works. The blood-brain barrier protects the brain from possible toxins and poisons. On the other hand, it also keeps out many of these new drugs that get developed. It's interesting that lithium, a small molecule, actually can pass through the blood-brain barrier even after it's been absorbed into the body through the skin from a bathing experience. That's all for now.